Have you ever been obsessed with something tiny that you dedicated 15 years of your life to studying it? No? Well, meet Jürgen Otto. For the past decade and a half, this German-born biologist has been travelling to the remote grasslands of Australia, crouching down in the dirt and pointing a camera at a creature so small it could balance on a grain of rice. And he did it all for love. Not human love, mind you, spider love. What you're looking at right now is this peacock spider. It's approximately 5mm long. That's about the height of 2 stacked pennies, or the width of your pinky nail. It has 8 legs, 8 eyes. 2 of them are these magnificent globes that seem to stare directly into your soul. And it's absolutely, positively, irrationally adorable. But here's the thing that makes peacock spiders special. The thing that made Jürgen Otto spend half his career hunched over the Australian shrubbery, like a garden gnome with a camera. This tiny creature with the big eyes is about to do something that will change your entire perspective on spiders forever. He's going to dance. Description. Let's start with the basics, because when we say peacock spider, we're not talking about something that looks like a spider dressed up like a peacock. We're talking about a creature that evolved completely independently to mimic the exact visual language of a bird of paradise, except in arachnid form. The scientific name is Martus volans, and volans means flying, which is a little bit misleading because the peacock spiders don't actually fly. They jump spectacularly. They can leap up to 40 times their own body length in a single bound. Imagine you can jump the length of a school bus. That's approximately what the peacock spiders are doing whenever they need to get somewhere quickly. But the really remarkable feature, the thing that makes these creatures an internet sensation and the subject of countless viral videos, is their abdomen. When most people think of spiders, they think of those round, bulbous, slightly unsettling bodies that look like someone inflated a black balloon and gave it way too many legs. Peacock spiders said no. Actually, we'd like to do something more decorative. Their abdomen is covered in overlapping scales in hues that would make a stained glass window jealous. We're talking about deep blues that shimmer like gasoline on water, velvety blacks so dark they seem to absorb light, vibrant oranges and reds that bleed into each other like living flames. And scattered across this kaleidoscopic display are intricate patterns, stripes, spots, geometric shapes. Researchers have spent decades trying to understand them. The males, of course, are the show-offs. They have to be. In the peacock spider's world, males are essentially walking nightclubs, and their bodies are the dance floor, the DJ, and the complimentary cocktail all in one. Females, meanwhile, are dressed in muted browns and greys, practical, understated, and thoroughly unimpressed by ostentatious displays. That sound familiar? Each species of peacock spider has its own unique pattern on its abdomen. There are over 100 known species, mostly concentrated in the arid and semi-arid regions of Australia, though some have been found in parts of Tasmania, and even as far afield as China. Scientists discover new species regularly, which means there's a non-zero chance that somewhere in the Australian outback there's a peacock spider with a pattern nobody has seen before, just waiting for its moment to disco. And perhaps the most remarkable of all this visual splendor is that it's contained within a package smaller than your average Lego piece. It makes you wonder what evolution was thinking. What selective pressure pushed these creatures towards such an extreme decoration? What advantage could possibly come from having a butt that looks like Vincent van Gogh painted it? The answer, as always, when dealing with evolution, is sex. But we'll get to that. Now, can you do us a quick favor? If you're enjoying this deep dive into the world of peacock spiders, would you do us a solid and hit that like button? It really helps the channel out, and it tells YouTube that you want to see more content like this. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, now would be a great time. We're covering all sorts of fascinating creatures, and there's so much more to explore. Stick with us, and we'll keep bringing you the stories behind nature's most incredible organisms. Okay, let's get back to these dancing spiders. Habitat. Peacock spiders call Australia home, but not the Australia you see in the movies. Forget about koala-filled eucalyptus forests and the Great Barrier Reef. These spiders are creatures of margins, inhabitants of the places that tourists drive through on their way to somewhere else. Their preferred habitat is what's called sclerophyll forests, tough leaf vegetation that has adapted to Australia's poor sandy soils and erratic climate. Think low shrubs, wiry grasses, and open woodlands, where the sunlight filters through in dappled patterns. Places like Stirling Ranges in Western Australia, or the inland regions of New South Wales and Queensland. They've been found in habitats ranging from coastal sand dunes to mountain meadows, though they seem to prefer areas with leaf litter and small hiding places where they can construct their silk retreats. One of the most fascinating aspects of peacock spider habitat is their relationship with the landscape's texture. These are creatures that live in a three-dimensional world we rarely notice. To us, a patch of scrubby brush is just background noise. To a peacock spider, it's a city, a hunting ground, and a dating venue all rolled into one. They navigate using visual clues and spatial memory, returning to favorite perching spots day after day. Males establish and defend territories that might be just a few square meters, tiny kingdoms in the undergrowth. Australia's climate presents unique challenges. These regions experience extreme temperature fluctuations, from scorching summer days that would bake lesser creatures, to winter nights that dip near freezing. Peacock spiders have adapted by being remarkably temperature tolerant, active in conditions that would send most tropical spiders into hiding. They have also evolved a lifestyle that revolves around the Australian spring, when everything comes alive after the long dry period. This seasonal strategy makes perfect sense when you consider that peacock spiders, despite their dazzling displays, are also ambush predators. They don't spin webs to catch food. Instead, they lie in wait, often near flowers or vegetation where insects come to feed, and pounce when something appropriately sized wanders close. Their exceptional vision, those big beautiful eyes we mentioned earlier, evolved not just for spotting potential mates, but for spotting potential meals. It's a dual-purpose system. Look good, eat well, reproduce, repeat. Life cycle. Now we come to the really spectacular part, the life cycle of the peacock spider, which accumulates in one of the most extraordinary mating displays in the entire animal kingdom. Let's start from the beginning. Female peacock spiders lay eggs in silk sacs, usually buried in soil or concealed in leaf litter. A typical clutch contains anywhere from 4 to 15 eggs, though not all will survive to adulthood. The mother guards these eggs with typical dedication you'd expect from an arthropod. She stays with them, protects them from predators and parasites, and maintains the structure until they hatch. When the spiderlings emerge, they're microscopic replicas of their parents, carrying the same basic body plan in a package roughly the size of a grain of sand. They disperse almost immediately, spinning silk threads that catch the breeze and carry them to new territories, in a process called ballooning. This is a common strategy among spiders, but for peacock spiders, it's the only chance that they have to colonize new areas and avoid competing with their siblings. The juveniles grow through a series of molts, shedding their exoskeletons and expanding into new skins, like tiny inflatable dancers. This process takes several months, with spiders passing through multiple instars, growth stages, before reaching sexual maturity. The timing depends heavily on when they were hatched and local conditions, but most peacock spiders reach adulthood in time for their first spring mating season. And then the dance begins. The mating dance. Imagine, if you will, that you are a female peacock spider. You've just emerged from your winter hideout, and the Australian spring is in full swing. The wildflowers are blooming, the insects are buzzing, and you're in the mood for romance, or at least reproduction. A male approaches. He doesn't just walk towards you. Oh no. That would be too simple, too boring, too reminiscent of how most organisms handle courtship. Instead, he begins what can only be described as a synchronized sensory assault. First, he lifts his third pair of legs, the ones with the distinct black and white tips, then begins waving them in a specific pattern. It's not a random movement. Each species has its own signature rhythm, a choreography passed down through generations of male spiders who mastered the movements and attracted the girls. Think of it as spider breakdancing, except instead of breakbeats, the rhythm is hardwired into his nervous system. As his legs dance, he unfolds his abdomen, revealing those spectacular, colourful scales. But he doesn't just display them, he moves them. He tilts his body, shifts his angle, and positions himself so that the light catches the most iridescent patches at just the right moment. Some males will back towards the female with their abdomen raised. Others will dance sideways in a movement that looks eerily like a human trying to avoid awkward eye contact. The colours aren't just pretty, they're signals. Specific wavelengths to communicate specific information to the female. Species identity, male quality, even genetic compatibility. Female peacock spiders can see into the ultraviolet spectrum, which means they're perceiving displays that are completely invisible to us. What looks like a pretty pattern to our human eyes is actually a detailed genetic brochure written in light. And as if the visual spectacle weren't enough, many species add a sonic element to their performance. The males produce vibrations through their substrata, both through specialized structures on their body and through the silk lines that he attaches to his perch. These vibrations travel through the ground into the female's legs and communicate information that complements what she's seeing. It's a courtship as a total sensory experience, multimedia entertainment packaged in a 5mm body. Now here's where things get interesting from a behavioral perspective. Female peacock spiders are extremely picky. They've been observed rejecting males for what seemed like no reason at all, rejecting them before the dance even starts, rejecting them mid-dance, rejecting them after what appeared to be a perfectly acceptable performance. Researchers have spent years trying to decipher the selection criteria, and the conclusion is disturbing, or reassuring depending on your outlook. The females might just be testing the male's persistence. They might be assessing his dance for subtle asymmetries that indicate genetic fitness. They might be evaluating the quality of his displays in ways we haven't yet understood. Or, and this is a theory I personally find most appealing, they might be simply difficult because they can be. In a species where males invest this much energy into courtship, females have the luxury of being selective, and selective they are. When a male is rejected, he has a few options. He can try again with the same female, performing a modified version of his dance. Or he can move to a new territory and hope for better luck elsewhere. Or if another male shows interest in his territory, he can fight. Though physical combat is relatively rare, reserved for situations where the stakes are high enough to risk injury. When a male is accepted, mating occurs quickly. The male transfers his sperm to the female via a specialized appendage called the pedipalps, and that's essentially the end of his contribution to the next generation. He might mate with multiple females over his lifetime, which typically spans only 1 or 2 breeding seasons total. Females, by contrast, can store sperm and produce multiple clutches of eggs, ensuring genetic diversity with each batch of offspring. The whole courtship process, from first approach to successful mating, can take anywhere from a few minutes to over an hour. Females have been observed watching multiple males in succession, comparing performances like judges at a talent competition. Only the best dancers get to pass on their genes. Status and conservation. This is where our story takes a slightly concerning turn. Despite their charm and their internet popularity, peacock spiders face significant challenges in the modern world. Habitat loss, climate change, and the general degradation of Australia's unique ecosystems all pose threats to these tiny performers. Most peacock spider species have extremely limited ranges. Some are known from only a single location, a single patch of bush where the right combination of soil, vegetation, and microclimate comes together to support a population. When that habitat is disturbed by development, by fire, by an invasive species, by a change in rainfall patterns, these populations can disappear practically overnight. Fire in particular is a double-edged sword for peacock spiders. Australia's ecosystems have evolved with fire. Many plant species actually require fire to reproduce. but catastrophic fires, the kind that are becoming more frequent and more intense with climate change, can devastate peacock spider populations that they have nowhere to escape. These spiders can't run from fire, they can only hide, and sometimes hiding just isn't enough. Climate change adds another layer of complexity. As temperatures rise and rainfall patterns shift, the sclerophyll habitats where the peacock spiders live are changing. Some areas that were once suitable are becoming too hot, too dry, or too seasonal. The delicate timings of peacock spider life cycles, emerging in spring, mating when flowers bloom, could be disrupted if phenological relationships fall out of sync. And yet there's reason for cautious optimism. Peacock spiders have a few things going for them that many endangered species lack. First, they're small. Actually, scratch that, they're tiny. While this makes them vulnerable to habitat destruction, it also means they can survive in small patches of suitable habitat that larger animals would ignore. A remnant of bushland, a roadside reserve, a garden that hasn't been sprayed with pesticide, all could potentially support peacock spiders. They are the ultimate urban wildlife, thriving in the margins of human-dominated landscapes if those margins are left relatively undisturbed. Second, they generate interest. Peacock spiders are, objectively speaking, adorable. Their courtship dances have been viewed millions of times on YouTube. Scientists like Jürgen Otto have dedicated careers to studying them. This attention translates into research funding, conservation advocacy, and public support for protecting Australian habitats. It's not always enough, but it's more than many obscure species receive. Third, we're still discovering them. New species are described regularly, which means we're still learning where peacock spiders live, how they behave, and what they need to survive. Every new discovery is an opportunity to identify habitat that deserves protecting before it's too late. Most peacock spider species are not currently listed as threatened, but this status could change rapidly if conservation efforts don't keep pace with habitat destruction. The challenge, as always, is balancing the needs of human development with the preservation of these irreplaceable ecosystems. It's a challenge Australia has been struggling with for generations, and peacock spiders are just one of countless species caught in the balance. So there you have it, the peacock spider in all its glory, a creature that evolved visual sophistication of a bird of paradise in a body smaller than your fingernail. A dancer whose moves are genetically programmed, yet individually perfected. A predator and a performer, a tiny monarch of the Australian underbrush. Next time you're in Australia, skip the obvious attractions for a moment. Find a patch of sclerophyll scrubland, crouch down in the dirt, and look closely at the world at your feet. You might just spot a peacock spider doing what a peacock spider do best, dancing like nobody's watching, because to most of the world, they're invisible. But they're not invisible to us. Not anymore. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of peacock spiders, we have a feeling you'll love our other videos too. Subscribe to What Is and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. We've got other animals and other topics like science and music just waiting to be explored. Leave a comment below and tell us what animal or subject you'd like us to cover next. We read every single response, and your ideas help shape what we create. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.